was one of them.
Yep.
Call the meeting to order. I want to remind everyone that tonight's meeting is being recorded. We're glad that you could join us. All comments during the meeting are recorded by audio tape. This recording is in addition to our written minutes, and our system allows an audio recording of our meetings to be available online and on our website. Let the record reflect that we are missing Cindy. She's actually joining us via Zoom, and Byron is off chasing elk somewhere. So everyone else is here. Our student rep Cameron is present this evening. We'll go ahead and do the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Review of the agenda. Are there any changes, additions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of things on in the presentations under number 2. I had it there, I took it out, I put it back in, the Soaring Skyhawks Recognition Awards.
Okay.
It's not an action item, but certainly want to recognize all of the great kids doing great things at the middle school. And then I updated an updated version of the new board members handbook, which would fall down under other items under superintendent's report.
New handbook. Anything else?
And I think just take a minute to recognize that at the December 11th meeting, we want to that'll be the last board meeting for 2 of you guys. And so want to set a meeting, move it to 6:30 and have a little recognition prior to the regular board meeting, and then go into regular session at 7 p.m. doing the normal duties, and then swear in the new board members, and this would effectively be your last meeting. And then do the reorganization also as part of the December 11th meeting.
Okay. If there be nothing else, and we'll move on to the,
Oh, Ron Powers is here, board member elected for, I think, your position, Russ. I
Yeah.
want to just recognize him. Ron, if you raise your hand back there.
hi Ron, welcome. All right, we'll go to public input, and it looks like we only have one person that is selected to speak, Levi Cushing.
Russ, I want to speak also. I put my name, but I forgot to check in to speak.
Okay.
I was here, I think 4 meetings ago, when you guys were talking about why enrollment was low, and there seemed to be some question on that. As a parent that has pulled one of my kids from Salton High School and is gonna pull my second, one thing that I found that was appalling, just recently, I was taking my daughter, she's in 5th grade, to basketball practice, and we were listening to some music, and Summer 69 came on the radio, and she points at the radio and goes, "Dad, is that a bad number?" I go, "What? Explain to me, what do you mean by that?" She goes, "Well, my teacher said it's like a bad word." I go, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, "Well, she told us to pick a really high number, but not that number, because it's sexual." So I have a really big issue with that, sexualizing numbers in 5th grade. If a kid that has a phone didn't know what that meant, I bet you the first thing they did was Google it when they left. I just find that pretty shameful, and I thought you guys needed to know about it. So that is why we'll be pulling our other daughter as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Levi. And I guess I said Gigi, you wanted to speak.
I do. I just wanted to make sure I got an opportunity to thank you and Cindy for everything that, not just, this is more from me, so being so welcoming when I started and always being there if I had questions. Both of you guys have always just been open to answer anything, answer my calls, emails, and just have been so supportive. And I personally appreciate both of you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I apologize if there's a little lag, so we have a new system that we're using in the last couple of meetings. Next up is consent agenda. Are there any questions, comments about our consent agenda or the personnel action report we have included?
No.
Then I'll ask for a motion to approve our consent agenda as included in our packet.
I made a motion to
Okay,
approve.
I have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And Cindy?
Aye.
Very good. I just want to make certain we get your vote on these things. Next up, presentations. We have committee and association reports. I don't know if there's anybody here to report from a committee or an association.
So,
We have, obviously, we have Cameron for the students. So, Cameron?
Want me to go now?
yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
Hi, I'm Cameron Skeeth. I'm the student rep from the Stoughton High School. I'm a junior. So I'm gonna I've laid out the topics I'm gonna talk about different things. So we're gonna go sports, clubs, and then our ASB. So for sports, kind of recap for our fall sports. Girls soccer, football, volleyball, cross country, and then our shout to our sideline cheer all kind of finished up these last couple weeks. And then our winter begins. They began November 5th. And so those entail for our winter sports is girls, boys basketball, wrestling, competition cheer. Those are all sports going on right now. Tomorrow actually, girls and boys basketball have a game tomorrow. Show up, come support if you really want to, support our girls and boys at 5:15 p.m. That's what's going on for sports really right now, kind of. Games are starting to hit the road. So for our clubs now, musical trials just finished up. So our musical this year is The Wizard of Oz. I'm going to shout out our leads this year that we got. So for Dorothy, Kiera Steele, Wicked Witch, Gloria McGruder, Glenda the Good Witch, Ella Pettyjohn, Tin Man, I'm going to really botch his name because he's our foreign exchange student, so please forgive me. Matei, his last name, Zamafran, I'm so sorry, Matei, I just botched your last name. For our Cowardly Lion, Toby Day, and then our Scarecrow, Macy Hamilton. Congratulations to those people, I'm really excited to see it. And then also, what started today is our HOSA's annual coat drive. So basically, they ask kids to bring in gently used or new coats to help kind of give back to our community. This is going to be their third year doing it, so basically bringing coats in to help with our community as the cold starts to hit, cold season hits. Also, if you have any seniors, baby photos. If you want to have your senior's baby photo in the yearbook, you can go to the office and pay for your senior baby photo. It's really fun. It's a cute way to throw something in the yearbook. Now, ASB. Right now, kind of ASB what's going on is ASB is working on some sponsorship banners to kind of hang around our stadium, kind of looking at that to really help represent our teams and sports going on, and also clubs. And then last week we had a Spirit Week, thankful for, and basically it was kind of just a kind of say, what are you thankful for in our 3 days that we had last week? And then other, something that just wrapped it up was our Snow Owl program, basically signing up to do that. Basically, it's a school where you can go learn real life experience for jobs, and once you leave that school, you'll be able to go straight into a job. And then some signups that are still going on right now is RAP. Basically, that's more based on construction, and that's still kind of going on right now, if you have kids in high school wanting to look into doing that. Yeah, that's all I have for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. Good job. Next up, we have Michael Marin and Teaching and Learning Department update.
So I'm gonna take Mike's,
Okay.
Mike was ill today.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna ask Gigi to participate, and if there's anybody else here. So, as Director of Teaching and Learning, Mike oversees the Curriculum Adoption Committee. And we've typically had citizen staff, a board member or two serve on that committee. And he, after piloting the materials, after narrowing it down to 2 math curriculums, he's recommending, or the committee is recommending, the adoption or approval of the iReady math instructional program for grades K through 5.
And just to be clear too, that he does not make the recommendation, the group does, and then he takes the recommendation from the group. So the group, the Instructional Materials Committee voted, and their recommendation was the iReady.
And purchase of it's a whole separate discussion that's gotta take place. I think part of what we've done in the past is we've either purchased, grades K through 2 first, or grades 3 through 5, or we've even done it in thirds. But I think in the spirit of taking a look at where budget stands and all of that stuff, I think we wanna kind of wait and see a little bit. The pilots are over. There were teachers that were actively piloting both curriculums. One was, I can't think of the name of the other one. It was 2 different math curriculums made to the final 2. They were piloted in both elementary schools, and iReady was the recommended one from the group. And my recommendation to the board is that you approve that as the adopted mathematics curriculum for grades K through 5.
This is an action item for this evening's meeting.
It is, yeah. Well,
It's not shown as an action item, it's informational.
okay, well, that's fine. We can put it back on for the 11th, yeah.
Questions?
I will say that, just for more information, one of the biggest comments was that it is challenging, which is what we need. It's not an easy, curriculum. It's more challenging for our kids, and that's what they deserve, is to be challenged and to really learn. And the committee was unanimously for that curriculum.
Good. It looked like in the survey, or whatever that sheet was, it was well up in the 4 and 5s.
Yeah, everybody loved it.
I was observing classrooms at Goldbar Elementary and watched a teacher piloting it, and of course there's a lot of factors involved in that, curriculum being just one of them, but the level of engagement that I observed was phenomenal, and was not easy material to navigate.
Do you know, were other schools in Washington State already using that curriculum, or did the committee learn?
Yes, there are.
Lake Stevens does.
Yeah.
I think there are others. They worked hard at getting the costs down, and the first cost that I saw was really cost prohibitive. And because we use the online version as a supplemental curriculum that we have for a while, we were able to get the cost down 40 or 50,000, and then another 20,000 through a grant from Foundry 10, which
So it's about 250,000 for the curriculum, but it's teachers and curriculum are kind of the 2 most important things that we have, and we need to have the best curriculum that we can get.
My question, and why I asked about other schools, how is it in aligning with the scope and sequence of the testing that our students are going through? Because obviously we haven't tested where we want to in math. for
So they
some
use
time.
a tool to evaluate the curriculum. I think it's called the IMET, something like that, and it evaluates user friendliness, alignment with standards, a number of different factors. And so if they don't make it on that highly aligned list, they don't even get looked at. And so this was on, I think it was 98%, something like that.
And it's compared to what we're using now, it is night and day.
Alignment wise.
Yes,
Good.
and for testing and everything, I probably guarantee our test scores will go up if we
Well-
switch over to this curriculum, because it's just
Alignment was an
completely-
issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so much better.
When you're testing on something you haven't been
Mhm.
instructed in yet. All right, moving on, we have an artificial intelligence and impact on learning, and
Yeah, so just to give you a little background on this, myself and Gigi and Mary Ann went to the WASDA conference in Bellevue, School Directors Conference, and one of the questions that was actually asked in this board meeting by a board member was getting policy and guidelines in place. And so I was sitting in a session on this, and that same question came up. And one of the recommendations they made is don't put policy into place yet because it's moving at such a rapid pace, but you do want to put guidelines in. And so I essentially have brought forward his exact, you know what we did?
Yeah, we skipped some,
We did skip some.
because it's not in the digital one, it's on here.
Okay,
So
all right.
why don't we jump back to it and we'll come back to the AI
Okay,
stuff,
yeah.
because I know we have people here for this. And I apologize to the Soaring Skyhawks for the recognition.
I made that change this afternoon, so.
Technical difficulty, it's not in my digital version, it's on here, so please, let's proceed with that. Dan, are you doing that?
Yeah, so Soaring Skyhawks, one of the things they're doing at Sultan Middle School is recognizing kids or groups of kids for character traits that get recognized by students and others. And Ms. Gilreath, our assistant principal, Mr. Chappell, our principal, are working with kids on a committee to do various things that are positive for the school. And in an era when kindness and those things are needed at a much higher level in the world, it's important that we pay attention to those things. And so I was over at the middle school touring classes and visiting different things, and they had all of these neat displays of kids in the commons of all these great things that we're doing, and a number of different things up on the stage, and I was just fascinated at how positive it was. And we need to spend more time talking about those kinds of things. And so I was talking to them and said, hey, let's get this on the next board meeting agenda, and so we pulled it together. It looks like we've got several kids here to do it, and so I'll let them kind of take it from here and explain what they're doing, but really the purpose is to recognize the kids that were recognized in September for kindness and the month of October for commitment.
Thank President Sumter and board members and Superintendent Chaplik. We are honored today to present so many wonderful things that are happening here at Sultan Middle School, and really spearheaded by Ms. Gilreath, and just her energy and excitement within the school, and so honored to have a lot of our students here to get that recognition. So I appreciate the opportunity for this moment, for the spotlight to be on you students. So thank you. I know Ms. Gilreath has a lot more of the ins and outs of what goes on into this award, and we want to recognize every student and make sure that your names definitely get read off for the public to hear.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chaplik, for inviting us. We were excited that you wanted to recognize our kids. When we think about educating the whole child, a big part of that is their social, emotional development. And the goal of SEL is to really help kids learn how to just be more aware of skills like goal setting and how to regulate their emotions and how to build relationships with each other, and just make good decisions that'll help them both in school and then in their futures. And so we've kind of redone what we're doing with social emotional learning this year. We have a committee of students that helps us to plan out what we're going to do, and kids rotate through that. So some of the kids that are here tonight are on the committee currently or have been on it before. So each month we have a new group of kids, and they help plan out what our character trait is that we're going to focus on, as well as what kind of activities we're going to do about it, how they introduce it to the other students in the school and model it. And then the second thing we do is we have our teachers recognize all of our kids when they're doing their Skyhawk Best with little they have little tickets that they fill out and give them immediate feedback when they see them doing great things around school during the day, and then those go into a raffle that we do at the end of the month, which is kind of fun. And then lastly, as the whole month goes on, teachers and classmates are just watching to see who really exemplifies the character traits that we're looking for, and that's our Soaring Skyhawk Awards. And so teachers put in their recommendations, and students can make recommendations of who they think has done the best job exemplifying what that looks like. So like Mr. Chaplik said, September we were focused on kindness, and I think we have one of our kindness award winners here. We had a bunch of them, but so we don't have everybody here tonight, but one of our winners for kindness was actually a student choice. So Bentley is here, Villa Senior, he's in the back, and according to his classmates, he deserved the Kindness Award for helping clean up a friend's books. He's just a good friend, he's brought snacks, he's nice and helped me, he's kind. He had lots and lots of students write things in and wanted to recognize him. So we want to
Can you
So those,
stand up, maybe, so we can
I'm sorry?
stand up, maybe? so
You
we
want to
can-
stand up, Bentley?
Thank
you. So we also, we give the kids a certificate at the time when we give them the award. Actually, the students give out the awards to each other. So that's a fun part of the committee's job is they actually give out the awards at our last Friday of the month during lunch. It's kind of crazy. Every Friday during lunch is kind of crazy. And then they get a Soaring Skyhawk keychain that they can put on their backpack so they'll know who our award winners are. So for October, we were focused, and the kids picked this. I was like, not so sure, but they were really excited to pick commitment for the character trait for October. And we talked a lot about what commitment looks like and how that could affect them being able to meet their goals eventually. And so we talked about turning over a new leaf and making commitments. I've made a commitment to try to learn all the kids' names, which is, I'm trying. I think give them candy if I don't get their name first before they get mine. So we definitely have some of our commitment award winners with us tonight. So I think you want to go first.
Yep, I'll go for award
Mr.
first.
Weston.
Weston Stenbach. Weston is committed to being actively engaged in all aspects of being a Skyhawk, whether he's volunteering to be a web leader, serving as a class representative for ASB, or running cross country. Weston gives his best. In addition, he is always quick to volunteer and willing to help out whenever needed. Thank you, Weston.
Nice. We also have Mr. Bowman Mueller here, and in Bowman's Teachers Row. Bowman shows his commitment to learning by turning in all his work on time and learning from his mistakes. So they're really proud of him.
Next, we have Lester Zavela Hernandez. Lester is committed to doing his best. He is always prepared, and even though he does not speak much English, he is using his iPad to translate what is said and follows through. I am impressed with his commitment to learning.
Lester. All right, and then last but not least, we have Sydney Lee. You stand up. And we're recognizing Sydney for not only having the commitment to finish her assignments, but being committed enough to help others with her work with their work as well. So nice job, Sydney. Just in general, we just want to make sure that we recognize how proud of our Skyhawks we are. These guys really model the character traits that we hope to see all our kids developing. That makes them leaders in our school, and we think that those traits are really going to lead them to success in their life. And so most of all, we just want them to know that we're really proud of them and just encourage them to keep going and keep doing great things as they move forward. So.
And I just wanted to read off the names really quick in case
Yeah,
those of you
we
who are
have
listening
more.
did not see. So Daniel Toscano Martinez, Shaylee Williams, Sahali, sorry. Sahali Williams, Lauren Curl, Alice Sherrill, James White, Evelyn Guzman Calderon, Bentley Villasenor, Hamilton Kirk, Jade Pacheco Mendez.
And then for October, for commitment, we had Ruby Shea, Anastasia White, Ann Wittenberg, Weston, Trey Schisler, Sophia Serrano, Bowman, Tamia Bogan, Adam Hosner, Levi McKay, Amber Cole, Ava Hudson, Leo Cliff, Lester, Azriel Cookson, and Sydney. So we have a lot of kids doing a lot of great things, so we're proud of them.
And thank you all, and our commitment for November and December is honesty, and
Yeah, our
Being
character is honesty. So we will find those out at the end of the month, and then we're also having academic awards at the end of the quarter. So we have lots to celebrate.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Now we'll move on to the AI discussion.
Okay, so anyway, we were at the WASDA conference, and one of the sessions I went to was run by a guy named Jeff Utek, and the
Dan,
actual.
can we give them a, they're deciding who's leaving and who's staying. Thank you.
Thanks for everyone for
Thanks,
coming.
Thank you all
everybody.
for coming.
They have school tomorrow.
They do. That's it. Wow.
We need to have more middle school
Wow.
events. I think a whole, everybody here.
Okay.
We should invite Brett to stay though. He looks like he's riveted.
And so this is, this actual presentation you're looking at was developed by a guy named Jeff Utek. He's big in the tech world, and when we shifted from in-person learning to remote learning, Shifting Classrooms, I think was the name of the platform that he used, and he helped a lot in that. But anyway, this presentation was developed with the use of AI in a program called Canva. And so making sure that he gets credit for it. This is what he went through, and I'm just gonna kind of walk you through it. And part of my goal is to encourage everybody, we need to embrace this, not be afraid of it. It's a big unknown to a lot of folks, but there's a lot of, I think, rich learning that can take place, and I'll mention some of those things. And I don't know, Gigi and Marianne, were you in this one with me when he was
No.
going through this? Okay.
No, I didn't.
And so I'll just go through it, but, you know, really, these are 5 applications: classroom and student applications, ethics. These are things we need to think about, you know, as we develop guidelines. Internal district use of AI, training and professional learning, communication with stakeholders are all very important pieces to that. Classroom and sorry, got something popping up on my screen. Classroom and student implications support districts in capturing AI's ability to positively impact the educational environment. And so that's the part that, as we're thinking about developing guidelines before we settle in on policy that will guide this, we want to, you know, again, at least my recommendation is we embrace the learning aspects of this, because I think there will be many. And it can actually take some time off of what will, you know, people will do to get work done rather than add to it. But you have to be careful, it's an unknown. You go to the next one, Dave? And here's just a few examples. I mean, you know, if you think of a teacher and some of the work they're trying to do to meet the various needs of kids, it is realistically possible, when you look at these various different things, that you could save 3 hours a week in preparation for different lessons. If you think, just think of a mathematics classroom where you have a large variety of different learning levels, and you're trying to scaffold the material. Let's just say it's 10th grade material, and you've got 8th grade to higher than that in there. How do you do that without having it all be handmade? And there are some ways that you can take from all these millions of bits of information are out there. If you can put the right keywords into this, have it, you know, say, okay, take this 10th grade math standard and put it in a 6th grade reading, at a 6th grade reading level or something like that, so that it, you know, scaffolds to the level of the learner. So just an idea, not completely fleshed out, but there are ways that we can use this, I think, that will be really helpful. These are just some examples. And here are the ethical ones, student guidelines. You know, I've got a kid in college, and I worry about this AI all the time, you know, and have lots of conversations with him about it, and what he's doing, and how he's using it or not using it. And so we've had the ethical conversations about that. Student guide provides students with adequate training in the use and application before establishing the standard for implementation. Because we're going to do a demonstration at the end of this and show you how easy it is to develop guidelines that could go in place. Privacy measures, adhere to laws and governing student and district data and privacy. I think Cindy, who's on electronically, brought up a situation that happened in the Issaquah School District where, not sure what the input was, but some kids put photos into an AI app of some of their classmates and of them without clothes on, somehow.
It's happened in other districts.
It's happened. So there's stuff going on all over the place that's very difficult to understand how to monitor that, because it's,
I think as soon as the board can, we should develop a policy on that specific item, because it's out there and there's gonna be kids doing it. If we don't have a policy, how do we enforce a policy we don't have? So as soon as we can, I think that would be an important thing for the
Did
board to
we
look at.
have a policy for Photoshop previously? Because this is like the next step.
Right, and I don't know that we have a policy of somebody Photoshop, but manipulating our students' images.
certainly there is for social media and cell phones
Right.
and that.
Mhm.
And this is definitely another.
I would get explicitly into that area.
Data security, ensuring data security within the district is in compliance with relevant laws and regulations. I don't disagree, Russ. I think it's really important we do something. I think they were just telling us this is changing so fast and so rapidly that the minute you get something produced, it'll almost be out of date until they land in some place that it happens. Best practices. Continue refining classroom best practices at technology and knowledge advance.
They should have AI spell correct when he makes these, because he's got security obviously in the spell on that header.
I just got that now
Yeah.
too.
And I can tell you, I didn't change one thing on
Oh, I
this. He gets all the credit.
He has his name on every page, so he's
Yes, he
credit.
does, yes.
Tools increasingly become COPPA, FERPA, and GDRP compliant. Those are, you guys all know what FERPA is, but I think GDRP is the European model that really digs into how information is used. And so these are all well-known ways that information can be shared or not, and they're sort of trying to align how AI is used within the umbrella of that right there. Those things right there. Internal district use of AI, custom curriculum, I mentioned a little bit of that before, that if you can get the inputs correct and what exactly it is you want it to do, to be able to meet some specific learning needs, it's a place that it can really be of help, I think, but lots to learn. Privacy measures, data security. Actually, no, just a sec, Dave, I gotta catch up to you here a little bit.
I think you're the data analyst. And that should be analytics, but analysis.
Which one are you on? What page are you on?
7.
7, okay. Student IEP and 504 support, data analysis, data privacy and security, things that that are, all really important, and things that we do spend a lot of time in. Highly sensitive data in some of these, and need to make sure that we use it correctly. And so one of the things, to go to the next one, I'll be looking into some professional development. So thinking of bringing this guy in to talk to staff about it, because people are already learning about it on their own, and to what extent that people are applying it, it's not always really clear, and we need to make sure that there is some guidelines on its use.
It's being used in business now for a lot of composition, more than anything.
Ideas to help stakeholders introduce it, provide support, encourage critical thinking, and keep up to date. And again, it's something we don't want to run away from. It's something we need to make sure that we embrace and put the proper supports and training in place.
Sir, your Uber's very
What
loud.
page you on?
I am on
We did.
9, or 10.
10.
It's a repeated slide. Ideas to help stakeholders?
Yeah. Yep.
Cameron, did you have a question
Not a question,
or
just
a comment?
a thought.
I heard that.
Oh, well, so when you talk about AI, I would caution you of when you put it out to students as a negative, because the second you say kind of no to it, they're gonna wanna do it more and use it more. So I guess I would caution of maybe when you are looking at it and trying to put it out to the public of students, especially students, kind of using it more as a tool for kids to use and students to use. Because yes, I know people can do really stupid things and not the smartest decisions with it, but if we made it more as a tool for students to use for their educational purposes, I feel like we can get a better view on it from students.
What I was speaking to on the policy specifically is that one area, because right now, if a child took all of your friends' pictures,
Mhm.
and what happened in one case, they made it into a pornographic short movie and images, we have to have a policy
Mhm.
that says what happens to that student. There has to be
Mhm.
repercussions to that action.
Of course, that'd be in
And I-
any
And you know, this technology is always used to do these
Mhm.
sorts of
Mhm.
things. We just, that one section of it is the only thing, I see it as a great learning tool,
Mhm.
and how we use it, I think teachers are gonna have to change their
Mhm.
teaching styles, and students will be using it.
Mhm.
It just can't be, your assignment is to write a paper and turn it in on Friday. It would be more, let's do this in class and using it as a tool,
Mhm.
so that there's some learning going on. But yeah, I don't wanna limit or present to the students that it's something negative, just, it's like any tool. The country's divided on guns. Half think it's just a tool, and the other thinks it's this deadly thing. This is a tool that can be used for good and for bad, and we wanna make certain we have some laws and rules about what happens if you use it for bad.
Mhm.
Or at least that's one soon retired board member's opinion on how we should do it.
And we will be seeking advice from our technology coordinator, won't we?
We will. We're gonna talk about that in a second.
Communication with stakeholders, you know, to me it seems pretty obvious. Transparency, you know, provides support. Prompt engineering as a skill, guidelines, not policies, and I think that's, you know, again, we do have to have something in place. We need to have something in place soon for these things, but understand that it will be changing as time goes on pretty rapidly, from at least what the experts in the room were saying. And you can't wait for the framework, because these are all already the ways that it's being recognized and used. One of the things they talked about that I think is a way that a district our size with our staffing levels could really leverage is they're using it to write grants, putting in the right parameters. Some of those take hours, if not days, to do. But if you can get the right input into it, it can really save a lot of time and provide some resources to the school district that otherwise are, you know, applying for the grants sometimes is just time prohibitive.
I hear what you're saying, but do you know how often I argue with my Alexa because she tells me, I don't know about that.
AI will,
It-
if you do it for grant writing or anything like that, you have to read every
Oh, yeah.
word and every sentence,
Yeah.
because it will put false things in there and it will go down the wrong ways.
Oh, you absolutely have to.
But it does
Yeah.
expedite writing
Yeah.
a well-written draft.
Well, if you remember when we were down in Orlando and we went to the creator of Siri,
Right.
and he was talking about it at that time, and that was a year ago, essentially, not even a year ago, and what it could do and what its limitations were, and how he saw it playing out in the future. It's gonna be this ever-evolving thing, but you're correct, you have to read it over. I mean, the fooling around I've done it, I uploaded one of the chat GPTs and paid for a week and tried different things, and it was kind of amazing what it could do. You know?
We double check everything anyway before we send it, especially for a grant or something.
Right.
so.
And, you know, this is just his last slide. I think it kind of, you know, says, the future does not belong to those who hold on to the past, it belongs to those who embrace change, even if it means letting go of the familiar. So Dave and I, we're gonna try to, he was gonna pull something on the screen, and we're gonna try to put some inputs into some guidelines that talked about, you know, we kind of think out loud about it, Dave. We didn't pre-select one, so it didn't come out perfect, but let's just see what it would do. Let's-
Okay, what are we looking at?
So I would say one of the parameters is a policy for K-12, public school, that takes into account ethical use,
AI. Go.
appropriate learning, and I was thinking one more, I was thinking basically three things. What would you add to it?
Ethical.
Didn't they put that on the first one?
Ethical's on there.
Yeah.
One more, need a third one.
3 pages long.
Yeah, there you go. 2 pages. There you go.
How about just paragraphs?
Let's do a couple pages. I don't know that it can get what you need. And policies that we have are not 2 paragraphs usually. Let's see what it comes up with.
We're using the old version of chat.
We are, yes, yeah.
This is what it gave you.
Can we read that? Good opening.
They have equity and inclusion tagged in this article that they.
I have found almost, it works equity and inclusion into anything that you put
Okay.
K-12 on.
Oh,
It seems to always work it in there.
that's good. Interdisciplinary approach.
That's something we've been shooting for, in, you know,
Uh-huh.
just education in general.
Establish robust protocols for the collection, storage, and sharing of student data, ensuring compliance with applicable laws and regulations.
Well, they've got all the right buzzwords in there, that's for sure.
So I think if you kind of go back to what, I don't know who said it, where, you know, there's errors and you gotta correct it, it gives you an excellent framework to go
Right,
from.
it's a great rough
It
draft.
would take hours to come up with that if you were just writing it from scratch.
We use it for TurkPride.tv, we use it as the jumping off point for all the ads.
Right,
You
and
know,
you
well-
can tell it, write it at a 8th grade reading level, a 4th grade
Third
level.
grade's the magic word.
A
yeah.
doctorate level,
Wow.
and when you do it doctorate level, it's, you can definitely tell that it wasn't written by a human that I know.
Wow.
So I think the point of that whole exercise, and probably within this own room, there are some people that haven't touched it, others that have a real advanced understanding of it. I'm on the lower end. I've done just a little bit of fooling around with it. But you can see that it's got possibilities that we need to pay attention to. We need to develop some policy. And so I guess, you know, you had mentioned, Cindy, policy, guidelines. I know that by the time we get this to full reading, it'll be an entirely new board. But bring something to, I can bring a first read to the next board meeting, because that's gonna be the new board in place at that
Yeah.
point.
I think the procedures part of it is gonna be
The hard part.
the hard part,
Yeah.
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 And ChatGPT can't really write the procedures.
No, we're gonna have to, and that's really how we implement what the policy says.
The implications alone for plagiarism, for kids not doing their own work.
I was
and
surprised
instead-
that they talked about the tools that they use to check for plagiarism on this tool aren't very good.
No, they're,
Lots of inaccuracies, lots of, you know, if I think I heard him right, it was 35 to 40% accuracy, which is pretty low.
Yeah.
Especially if you're calling a student a cheater or.
Because, and maybe that's
Yeah.
because whoever's looking can't replicate the exact input that developed it. I don't know.
We have a plagiarism checker in Canvas, built into Canvas, and we added on the AI checker this year. And it touts like 40% accuracy, you know, kind of gives you a yellow to take a second look at it.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories in one of the educational journals we get emailed where a college professor called a kid out and saying he plagiarized it, and the kid had videotaped, there's an old saying, he had recorded his process of writing because he had heard this teacher was challenging things like this, and he didn't, and he had to go to the dean of students to get his grade so he could graduate. So 40%, they need to get it to where it's like 95% at least. 99%. But I think it's going to change in where kids are writing those papers. I think they're going to be needing to write them in school as opposed to, here's an assignment, take it home and do it. That'll eliminate them just having to write it, and then we can educate them, to your point, of how to use this tool intelligently and the positives that it creates. Certainly, we're all going to hear in the news about the negatives, but the positives, it can be utilized. It'll improve.
Creating prompts on itself is a skill level.
It is.
You know, and the quality of the work that's gonna come out of it is 100% based upon those prompts and how you refine those prompts.
And if you work with a group of people, some people can't even search Google intelligently, you know, for lack of a better term. They don't know, and if you put the right words in, you'll get what you're looking for definitely on the first page. And this is not that dissimilar to that. It's asking an intelligent question and telling it what to do. I've used it a lot. We use it as part of our work. And it's good for what it does, and it's only going to get better in the coming years. We're at, you know, version 4.0, and when version 12 or 14 comes out, who knows what it's going to be doing.
My plan is next year I'm gonna budget for some server time so we can start uploading some of our logs up there to kind of catch things before they happen. You know, penetration.
Yep.
And weird logins, things like that.
Think of how many parents will be happy though if the kids are doing less homework at home and more at school. Yeah.
Well, creating prompts around a subject matter you don't know much about is a skill itself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
You're going to have to learn about it to create
Yeah.
an intelligent prompt.
Exactly.
And if it's a bad prompt, you can tell. I mean, the company I work for has used it to create policy, and the second I read the policy, it's like, you wrote this in chat. No doubt.
With one prompt.
With one prompt. Anything else on that, or we move on to this?
That's it. Which is kind of it. So we'll bring a draft of policy and procedure to the December 11th, at least for initial consideration, and kind of see where that goes.
All right, Student Services Department update, Dr. Paul Douglas.
Good evening, directors. So tonight most of the information is informational, but I want to take this opportunity to recognize Sherry Cooper. Sherry, if you can come on up. I know she doesn't want to, but. So if you remember, Sherry was back in January, February last year. Sherry and her group of speech language pathologists were working on getting what we call augmentative alternative communication devices, AAC devices, to our students that struggle communicating. Many of them are nonverbal speakers. So with Sherry's hard work, speaking of grants, she wrote a grant and received that grant through Voya and was awarded the 2023 Voya Unsung Heroes winner, which provided a great deal of funding for students to be able to get those devices. So going out and finding an alternative way to find funding and reaching out to our students, some of the students with highest needs, and fulfilling that does make her a hero, and we're very appreciative of it. Kayla has the award in her office, so I'll make sure I bring it over to you. But I just wanted to make sure that the board had a chance to honor and recognize one of our outstanding staff members. So
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Keep writing grants.
Yeah. Next time use AI.
Get a bill quicker.
Yeah. The second thing I had tonight is we were awarded again, with the help of staff member, reaching out to Home Harvest and receiving 200 gift cards. They're $50 gift cards that we give out to families, especially those families that are in need, especially around the holiday time. And those gift cards can be used for a number of purposes. Food, of course, is one of those. They can be used for gas cards. Just a number of different things that they can be used for, and it's extremely helpful to our families in the community. One of the things those cards cannot be used for, of course, is alcohol, tobacco, things like that. So it does really help the families. We do give them out a number of different ways. One is our student support advocates give them out, counselors give them out, even our SRO, so that we're hitting a number of different populations, and our district office has them as well. So it's nice to be able to give back to the community and support families that are in need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just all good news this week.
Yes, see, all good news.
Dan, monthly financial report, there you are.
Keep up with the good news.
Yeah, was it? No pressure, right?
Yeah,
It's
keep
been
us
all
good.
good news, no pressure. All right, well, we'll start with, there is a positive thing. Our enrollment was up for November, which is a good thing. We saw an increase versus October of just a little over 11 FTE. So that has helped to shrink the gap between what we had budgeted and what we were actually seeing right now. So we were right at just about 100 as far as the discrepancy. Based on the discussions that we had at a previous meeting and the board's guidance, we did contact OSPI and have reduced that count by 80, so that we have essentially have narrowed that discrepancy to 20. That will be reflected in the apportionment we received this month. I checked early this morning, the report wasn't posted yet. I didn't get a chance this afternoon, but it will definitely be there tomorrow. So we'll see what the effect of rolling that enrollment back by 80 FTE to get us closer, to get us within 20. And then we will have the final true-up will be in January. So, excuse me, continuing on, just again, the monthly representation of some of the graphs that I have. I won't spend a great amount of time on that. Again, just kindergarten, the next one there, Dave. Kindergarten, again, as we've talked about before, was just kind of an anomaly this year. Really significantly down, specifically at Gold Bar, is where we saw, just the number of kindergartners did not matriculate, did not appear as we had hoped to do so. The graphs, as far as where we're at September, October, November, we are starting to tick up ever so slightly each month. And that's as far as the traditional enrollment. For our ALE enrollment, we have seen, started out, September, October was essentially flat. November did drop slightly in November. Then I just give you the county tax reports. Those are just printed off of their website. It's nothing that I produced, but it does go through a representation of outstanding property taxes clear back to 1996. I guess we got, what, 3 cents on the books from 1996 and 1 cent on the books from 1997. Other than that, we're fully paid in those years.
We need to collect that.
I know, we're down to 4 cents left in those 2 tax years. But anyway, it does go back that far. And again, so that we have that. General fund, the reports for October. Yeah, keep going there, Dave.
Sorry.
That's okay. Keep going. There we go, perfect. The budget status reports, this is for the month of October, so we are caught up now. We were slightly behind in September, but now bringing you the October report. Excuse me. Ending October at $2,943,190, and as you'll see later on, that compares favorably, about $42,000 above where we were same point 12 months prior. Capital projects, $1,221,508. Fund 30, debt service fund, $127,200. Fund 40, associated student body, again, this is all areas, all schools, $225,568. And Fund 9, Transportation Vehicle Fund, just slightly above $394,000. So, exceptions reports, I told you that I would start doing those now. Again, September, we were a little bit behind, so I did not produce them in September. But this is as of October 31st. So we have the first one is salaries and benefits. This is your objects 2s, 3s, and 4s. And you can see there that we are 0.5% below proportionate share through the first 2 months. For the next page, material supplies and operating costs, which are objects 5 through 9s, we are 6.1% below proportionate share. And again, there are some comments down below there for that. And then all, when we take all areas, material supplies, operating costs, salaries and benefits, 1.6%. So we have seen through the communication that we have done out to the buildings and essentially communicating to them when we realized that our enrollment was significantly below what we had budgeted. I have seen a reduction in things coming across our desk as far as payrolls are concerned. Granted, this only reflects 2 months thus far of payroll. We'll have payroll finalized tomorrow for the month of November. So when I come and speak with you at the meeting in December, we'll have 3 months of payroll, which should give us a good sample set of which to establish what I call a base payroll. What is a typical month without additional payments and so forth, and then we can use that information to project out through August. But thus far, I think we're working, heading in the right direction, and really working hard and trying to really scrutinize things that we do purchase, and make sure that they're absolutely necessary. On the last one, the fund balance history had said our 2.942 million is favorable, about $42,000 above same point a year ago. Now November, it's going to take a drop in November. I'll basically tell you, reflecting the fact that we rolled it back by 80. November is a low apportionment month, so that number is going to drop significantly when I come to you and speak with you with the November report. So again, some graphic representations, and then as we look down here so far, as far as our estimates, 1.76 million was coming in at 4.3% for 23-24 as far as our fund balance. 22-23 ended at 5%, and again, our full 4% is our district policy. So, questions?
I just want to comment on it because it's going to lead into the next one. We didn't lose kids. We didn't have a mass exodus. We budgeted for pretty aggressive growth that didn't occur. That's what occurred. Last Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, we had 7 kids enroll in this school alone. And so there's always some coming and going, but it's not like we woke up one day or over a couple months' time we had 100 kids disappear. There were so many young kids up in these new neighborhoods, it was difficult to figure out exactly who would show up. And so we went against our own grain and budgeted for growth. We usually do it really conservatively. And budgeted for growth that didn't happen. And you can see that when you look at the overall, go to that one slide, Dave. You can see the sort of the growth history and enrollment and predicting it in this district has been very challenging. When you look at the housing crisis, we were losing 50 kids a year, and you couldn't tell if there was going to be an end in sight. And then when that whole situation repaired itself, we started to grow. And then when COVID hit, the bottom fell out from everything. And then you grow again. So we're, this year, really close to where we were last year. We just didn't grow by the robust
14.
Amount that we wanted.
We're within 14, 1938 versus 1924.
And one of the interesting things, and I don't know if this is a nationwide sort of a phenomenon or what, but you're going to see over the next couple years some districts in some big trouble because they're not having, kindergartners just aren't showing. People are either making choices, the way I had it described to me is the birth rates are not where they were. Our region, at least on the reports we've seen, might look a little different than that, and that there's a lot there, but the kids that are moving into these new neighborhoods are 5 years old and younger. Certainly there's kids in the schools. We have 2 full buses coming from those new neighborhoods, but the number of kids that are not yet school age is significant. I can't give you an exact number, but part of our enrollment forecast in using the group that helped us forecast it, they do some pretty elaborate looks into that and how many kids each of those homes are producing. And so, I don't know, there's a lot of factors involved. But
yeah, it's a good point. What Dan is saying is that to see enrollment growth, what you're going to have is new families come in, because the families per household are shrinking as far as the number of children that an average household is having. That number is trending downward. Therefore, to see enrollment growth, you need to have more new families come in with the fewer children that they do have in their household to continue to spur growth.
So it's a good example. I was gonna send it to you this weekend, but I got the ESD-wide enrollment figures, and it goes back about 10 years. And one of the things that, ours is pretty stable over that time, even though you see this, but one of the things that was just remarkable to me is School District Monroe is at 5,300 kids. 7 years ago, they were almost 7,000. I mean, that's 1,700 kids, almost the size of our district. I don't know where they're going or what they're doing, but it's significant. And I think people are making lots of different choices. We see people go homeschool, and they do it for a couple months, then come back. And there's a lot of different things, and the whole public school thing has become politicized, right, wrong, or indifferent, and, you know, we have to, you know, address all that and deal with it best we can, so.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It is a systemic challenge. I wouldn't say a problem, but it is a systemic challenge as far as the number of kids in public schools have been essentially established to serve a certain amount of students, and that population is declining. And so it's going to be an adjustment period for districts to deal
Well,
with those things.
young families having $3,000 and $4,000 mortgages hinders their
Well,
ability.
if you can even afford to have a house, it's really challenging.
All right, thank you.
Well, Dan, let's talk about the fiscal recovery plan here, since you're there.
Before you go on, to
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
I
see it
have a
there.
question. Okay, so do you send the ASB equity balance to the Sultan High School? Like, do you work with Sultan High School with their ASB and send them their equity balances?
We do. So we sent the report out last Thursday, I believe it
Okay.
was. And then we had a small change, and so we'll send out a revised report today. The amount was very, very, very small. It was like $20, so it's not substantive. But yes, we are now on a schedule to send those out. Our goal is to have them no later than the 15th of the month, to you each month,
Okay.
so that you can get those. So it has been a challenge the first few months to get them out to you.
Okay.
So, but we're caught up now, and we will hopefully stay caught up.
Okay, good, because I just know with ASB, it's been really difficult, even last year, it was difficult when we get equity balances 3 months out from the day we're actually having to decide what we were spending. So we were having to base choices off of not really true data, because it was based off of 2 months ago, and we had no idea if those programs actually had that money to spend. So that's why I'm just curious, are we gonna be now really up to date to actually be able to make those good, correct decisions, just those
That is
decisions based
fixed.
off fact?
And it'll be up to date.
What was sent to you on Thursday was as of the 31st of October. That is the most current. So once we get the November numbers, we will have to you on or before the 15th, the November 30th numbers. So usually it's about 2 weeks. We try to keep it to no more than, the goal is no more than 2 weeks from the end of the month till you get the report. So, good question. So fiscal recovery here?
Oh, I was just, you pulled this up, and so many of these things are in place. I think the point, I wanted to let Dan speak a little bit, because you know, based on payroll, based on expenditures to date, what's gotta happen to determine next steps is a forecast. So I'm gonna let him talk about that.
Yeah, the forecast will bring forth, plan is on the 11th, meeting on December the 11th. Because I will not have the November financials done, that's just too quick of a turnaround to have the November financials done. But in its place, we'll bring forth projections out to August of 2024, so that we can see where we feel we're going to end as far as the fund balance is concerned. Look at the challenges between now and August, i.e. May and June of 2024 are going to be very challenging as far as the cash position, because those tend to be your low water marks for cash throughout the fiscal year. So my focus of my report, even though it is a study session, would be to bring that to you at the next meeting in 2 weeks, or thereabout 2 weeks.
And I would just go up to bullet number 2 and kind of tie it back to the whole curriculum discussion. You were correct. Since I took over from Mike, I think the part that I failed to mention is it was education tonight, and then we'll take a vote at the next meeting as far as the adoption goes. But we initially had 290 budget, not even budget in there, but the cost of it. But it's already, you know, I think it was down to 250 or 60.
It's like 248 or something like that.
248.
And I want to point out too on here, so we're 1,176,000-ish below, and then the items on here will help with about 1,653,000.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
like a
yes.
little bit of room in there that is just the perfect amount for curriculum to be put back on the to-do list.
Okay. Yeah, on that list, the two large items are the curriculum and the additional transfer from capital projects funds. Those are the first two items, the 225,000 and the 290,000. Those are the others are all, the extra time, the 120,000 is significant, but there's a lot of them that are significantly smaller as far as things that we can affect change on. So I'm gonna figure these things, and like I said, when I come to you in 2 weeks, we'll kind of look at where we're at, and I think that we can make a more informed decision at that time.
If you recall, I don't know that some of the newer board members remember this, but, one of the things that, when enrollment, you looked back at that graph when it was really going down during the whole housing crisis, et cetera, we went years without purchasing new curriculum, and it was a problem, It was a big problem, and so to the extent that we can help it, we've got to make sure that student learning just is at the forefront through curriculum purchase and all the things that we do. And, after all, I say it to the folks in the district all the time, that's what brings us together here in the first place. And so that's what we need to keep our sights on.
Well, I'm with Gigi. I won't be voting on that, but I think if we can make that work. I know that the 1.6 is looking at,
That's just the value of all that stuff.
yeah, and that's 2 school years of value, so I know that plays into it, whereas that difference might not be as much, but that would be the one thing in there I would certainly try to hold on to. Anything else, questions?
We'll have a more robust presentation for you once we have some information in from reports and payroll and different things.
Yeah, it's just once we get the November numbers for payroll, and what our revised apportionment is going to be reflecting the reduction of 80, we'll have a better sense of projecting forward.
Yeah, and I'd like to see it with the curriculum in there, so.
Okay. I'll need to check with teaching and learning and see what month they would anticipate doing that. If that were approved, what month they would look at doing that, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have bond resolution number 24-02.
Yeah, so the Citizen Facility Advisory Committee has met for probably the last 10 to 12 months. I think it was December, January, you guys directed me to get the group back together. We had taken a break after COVID, and so we got back together, and in here we've got a couple of board members that have participated. Heidi Dawson has been directly involved, Dan has, Dave has, on where do we go and what do we do. And because if you look at the space in this building, it just isn't any. And so we looked at a lot of different ways of, how you go about this, and the thing at the end of the day is that it just keeps getting more expensive the more time that we wait, and we're full as we are right now. And so if you wait a few years or a couple of years, what does that do for you? It probably makes it more expensive. And with more homes on the docket to build, we need to do something. And so what we came out of this was really 2 parts. One of it is that you don't see mentioned in here that I talked about the last one, and that is a STEM center at the high school. 18,000 square feet that I'm working on the other side with legislators and the capital budget committee to try to fund that. At Sultan High School right now, there's $12 million in matching money that we cannot access unless we remodel the school. It's unfair for a community like this because we're not going to remodel the high school before we do something with this school or some others. It's just, there's needs at every building. And so to access that money and having to spend the money to do that, it just puts the community at capacity before you even get there. And so our real need is at the K-4 level. And so through a lot of work and a lot of thinking and trying to dial this in, it would be to remodel Gold Bar. You'd get about $7 million in matching money, turn it into a K-4 campus, build a new K-4 campus up on Sultan Basin Road, turn this into a grade 5-6 school, the middle school into a grade 7, 8 school. The population here is about in half once you do that. And we are in the process of purchasing the property up between 116th and 124th, directly on the north border of Cobble Hill and Skyview Estates. And so, so we decided to move forward with it. And my recommendation is that, that you do that. And, need to be real honest, these haven't been doing well. And that's, you can't sugarcoat that in anything, but I think it's important that we make the taxpayers aware that, come look at our space and let's imagine what it might look in a few years. And obviously these are big community decisions and it's important that we, we be transparent and put it in front of people and let them know kind of where things are. So recommend that you move forward. Any comments, Gigi, Marianne?
I'm getting a lot of negative feedback, and that's okay, because I'm gonna keep saying this, like Highway 2. You can only keep talking about the problem so long before you have to put on your boots and make some decisions and find the money and just fix it already. So I'm a yes, even though I have a lot of people telling me, no, it's not gonna pass, it's not gonna work, nobody's gonna buy it.
I'm prepared to do it 4 times if it takes.
That's what I said, I don't care if it's
Just keep
6
doing it.
months or 6 years, I'm gonna keep pushing it until,
Well, it's not gonna get cheaper.
no,
At some point,
no,
at some point, you're gonna have to do something. And
that's
so,
exactly,
it-
that's
you know,
exactly.
this was set up very conservatively. It doesn't bring in the fact there will be any new homeowners moving in. We know there will be, it's happening weekly. It doesn't take into effect that they will probably contribute more money to the project. All of the things are aligned for that to happen, and so these are, I don't know if I've ever heard a right time to do it, but
Yeah.
you've got to do something.
My tagline is no more portables. No more portables.
Portable bathrooms.
No more portable bathrooms, no more portable classrooms.
We need
Let's
to
make it permanent.
pass this tonight, but then the main thing is getting, like we did with the levy committee, getting the word out there now, because it's gonna come up really quick. We should be starting with that already, so go ahead and make a
But that was,
motion, or?
that was one of the considerations, is the timing of the whole thing and trying to work through it. Is it the right time to do? And, I think in my experiences, there's always been lots of reasons not to, and to wait, do it later, another time. But, the schools here will well outlive me in my time here, but gotta do something different.
If we can pass it tonight, then tomorrow needs to be a committee meeting, and what are the next steps to let the public know?
Russ, before you ask for motion, just a recommendation.
I have-
Mr. McNeil, as far as the vote
I have-
by roll call.
Okay, okay. Cindy, you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I completely agree that the community is never gonna feel like there's a good time, but it's the board's responsibility to move forward and keep the schools in shape for the kids. And with the number of students that we have now, the situation that we have is just no longer acceptable, and something has to be done, and now is the time.
I agree.
Yep.
That being said, then I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution number 24-02.
So moved.
I have a motion. I'll call a roll call to see how everyone votes. Cindy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Gigi, how do you vote?
Aye.
Marianne, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So that motion carries unanimously with this evening's board. Now the work starts. We have second reading of policy 1250, students on governing boards. There were no questions in first reading. Are there questions for second reading?
No.
No.
Hearing no questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve the second reading of policy 1250, students on governing boards.
So moved.
I have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
That was a unanimous vote. Second reading of policy 1400, meeting conduct, order, business, and quorum. There were also no questions on this policy in first reading. Do we have any this evening?
No.
Then I'll ask for a motion to approve policy 1400, meeting conduct, order of business, and quorum.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Second read of policy 5201, drug-free schools, community and workplace. Same as the two prior, there were no questions in first reading. Are there any questions this evening?
No.
That being said, I'll ask for a motion to approve policy 5201, drug-free schools, community and workplace.
I make a motion.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously with this evening's board. Moving into superintendent's report, we have a new handbook.
Yeah, there's actually, there's
In
3
process
documents,
still.
there's 6 things on it. So Dave, can you pull up the main, and I'll get to that.
Okay.
There's, the first thing, I just want to give you an update on the Transportation Cooperative. If you haven't driven down to see it, it's really close to being done, and looking great.
It is.
It's continuing to move forward. I think the days substantially complete by December 5th, move-in ready with keys by December 20th. And up till today, we're on time and within budget, and so let's hope that it stays that way. Middle school roof, there is, that's basically complete with the exception of the punch list. If you remember, we've done this in 2 sections. First section was when we had failure of the, above the band room, and we had to move the band into a portable, and got in there and there was rot all over. I think looking at that, it went back to, it's been internally damaged for a long, long time. And so we got that partially through an emergency facility grant. Part of it was DNR, and I think we had sold a piece of property and used to pay for the first half of it. The capital levy paid for the second half of the roof. And it's one of those things, it's kind of out of sight to everybody, but it is, it's really gonna add some stability to that place, because you're not gonna have to worry about roof problems or leaks or whatever, et cetera. And they removed a bunch more rock putting this in, so thank goodness it's about there. So we're going through the punch list right now, and with the 2 portions together, it's within budget. WASDA conference, wanted to give Mary Ann and Gigi a chance to talk about, their, what you guys experienced there, and, the 4 of us, or the 3 of us went, and a couple of courses were the same, many were different, and thoughts that you guys had.
For me, I think I'd like to maybe talk about it next meeting, but just type up my notes and everything and
Okay.
to share. But if you have anything you wanna.
I had a really good time. I was able to get registered for 2 classes that were continuing education units, and they were 3 hours long each, and they were very educational. Deciphering district budgets was one. That was entertaining. There was a lot of people that were brand newly elected, and the following week, they hadn't even been sworn in yet, never looked at a budget, and they were so lost sitting there. And so I was able to help them at least on the general fund and the capital fund, as I've not had any workings with ASB debt service fund or transportation vehicle fund.
I think the state of Wisconsin has a 2-page budget, something like that. The state of Washington does their best to confuse everybody, is what it seems like,
Well, I'm familiar with the accounting manual for schools too, and so it was good. The other one was laws. It was very well put together, and like Gigi, I'll have to type it up because I was really impressed with the second one on the timeline of laws that actually suppressed people and didn't support people with disabilities, people from different ethnicities, women not being able to vote or own credit cards or property, and it had to do with federal laws that affected our daily lives. So, but they did it in an art show. It was really cool. So yes, I'll do a follow-up at a future one.
Flow analytics, there was a discrepancy in our number and what we discovered. We got online and did a Zoom meeting with the gentleman that did it. And one set of numbers, we were figuring it from June, and the other was the October 1st head count, and that's what led to the difference. So we'll get it fixed and submit that process right now. Dates for school board retreat. We wanted to schedule a couple, or one in January, at least come up with some available ones, and I don't know if we've made any progress on that, but wanted to at least have the board entertain, you know, we talked about doing one from, say, 4 PM to 7 PM or something like that.
Byron's the one we need to get his schedule.
Okay.
He's not here, so.
And the new board members you did.
Yeah,
Okay, excellent.
he might be going to, I think it was Japan, so that's,
Oh,
we
yeah.
need to work around that.
And I will tell you, I'm going to Mazatlan from January 6th to the 15th on vacation, so I won't be available.
Okay. And new school board member handbook.
Yeah, so, you know, we've had variations of this in the past. This is one of the items that is linked on here where you have an attachment. I updated I put in, I think, Dan, you got involved with Gigi a little bit and added a little financial piece to it, and so I've updated that. And this is a working copy, so it's not in complete form, but nevertheless, this is, you know, kind of a Cliff Notes version for new board members about, you know, important topics that we would give to everybody to read through. Certainly not all-inclusive, there's a lot to this, and it takes time to understand all of it and where it comes from.
Did you use AI to write this?
Did not.
I
Gigi
did not use,
Gigi was a big author in this thing, and so,
but if you can take a look at it, Russ, especially you,
I
let me know if there's anything that looks
sure, I'd
incorrect.
be happy to.
And you too, Cindy, please.
Yep.
and then the last item is the, you know, kind of an orientation schedule that seems important. You know, one of the things, let me get this open. You know, in all the years that I've been doing this, you know, I can't think of really any school board member election cycles when somebody didn't want to know about the budget, then want to go in and meet with the finance director, and their eyes are glazed over in 20 minutes because of the complexity and the difficulty involved. And so try to do this in small snapshots so that people have a chance to know everybody that works here. I would like to add to this that I don't have here currently is, you know, going with new board members over to the schools, watch the school operate a little bit, meet with the principal, learn about their goals, the school district's communicated goals, and go from there. It's not, you know, this is just something that you learn over time. It doesn't all come together overnight. And sometimes you come in with things that you believe are a certain way and find out some are and some aren't. And so it just is, it's a complex environment. I wish it were simpler, but this is the world we live in. So this is, would be a, you know, kind of a snapshot of what an orientation might look like.
I think it would be really valuable to have the different schools put together a glossary of all of the shortened words, because education, you know, a new board member won't know what you're talking about if you just read the lingo that you would speak to, say, a principal about.
I have one printed out from WASDA, that's a good idea,
It's,
because there's a lot of things you
and
just
you know,
don't
there are, for our new board member, there are no dumb questions, and there's a lot to learn.
And on this orientation, if you or Cindy have anything that you think should be added on there, will you let me know as well?
Sure. Okay, anything else from the superintendent's report? And
I'd like to do executive session for 10 minutes for evaluation of staff.
evaluation of staff, all right, we have, what is this? It's 8:24, we will adjourn until 8:30, at which time we will have 10-minute executive session and be out of here by 8:40.
One thing before we adjourn, this is the last time
Yes.
you're gonna adjourn.
Yep.
So I just wanna make note of that,
Oh,
and
thank you.
we appreciate you and Cindy very much.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
6:30 next time, not 7.
That's gonna be weird. A motion to adjourn regular session, have a 5-minute break, and then go into executive session.
So moved.
I have a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you all for coming this evening.
Slam your hammer down one last time.
It's a fine, it's a replacement hammer. The original gavel got destroyed.
said that there was no moving